I think I sound kind of like people who make fun of Ben Gibbard sound right now, which is unfortunate for this episode, but
yeah, that's kind of rough, but it'll be fine.
Yeah. Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music and our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Troy Sennett.
And I'm Matt Kistler.
And today we are talking about Death Cab For Cutie's Plans, their major label debut released on August 30th, 2005 on Atlantic, produced as usual by guitarist Chris Walla. And this is, to me, the big one in the series. This is, not to spoil our rankings later, this is my favorite Death Cab album. I mean, unless Codes and Keys really takes me by surprise, but I don't think that it will.
I kind of doubt it.
Yeah. No, this one has been a pretty monumental record for me since I first heard it, probably in high school, or maybe even before high school, based on when it came out. Matt, what's your history with Plans?
There's really not a lot, weirdly. Like, despite the fact that I kind of got on board around transatlanticism, I was not super up on the kind of album cycle for this. I'd heard Crooked Teeth and Soul Meets Body, which got a lot of radio play at the time. I obviously, even if I hadn't actively heard I Will Follow You Into the Dark, I would have eventually heard it at some point. What weirdly unlocked that song for me was weirdly, again, kind of with transatlanticism. I had a friend who did a really good cover of that song, and I was like, oh yeah, shit, that song is good, isn't it? And it eventually brought me back to Plans, and I don't think I appreciated it as much when I was younger as I do now, which makes a lot of sense given the kind of lyrical content of this record. I've been spending the last week just kind of, much like with transatlanticism, just kind of going, kind of want to just listen to that again. Except this time I'm mostly crying instead of delighted by certain things. Both a little bit, but mostly the crying thing.
Yeah, where does this album sit for you on the spectrum of extremely depressing or extremely comforting?
It's really, in a weird way, solidly in the middle. And that kind of makes sense to me, having kind of read, Ben talking about some of these songs. He's like, yeah, I wrote some of these songs with the intention of them being sweet, and then people would just keep telling me that they're depressing as hell. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what is happening here. They are sweet, but they are also depressing as hell.
Right. And we should say, the stated theme of this album is a line from the song What Sarah Said, which is love is watching someone die. And I guess the other thing where the title comes from is this joke that Ben likes, which is, how do you make God laugh? Make a plan. And so those two things together are kind of the pillars of the album. And this idea that, making a plan to spend your life with someone, being deeply in love with someone will inevitably lead to one of you will die first, and one person will have to watch the other person die. And so to me, it is an album about death and all the sadness, but also all the joy that comes in celebrating a life and the life you've lived together with a person. And just the lauded Chris Walla's production on all of these records. This one, even more so, I think, is, we talked about transatlanticism, really capturing the feeling of the lyrics in the music, and this one does that as well. This is a very expansive record, but I also think it's a very gentle album. It just in the performances, in the mix, and the arrangements, I find this album so comforting to listen to, even when it's about extremely heavy stuff. I don't think of it as a vicious or mean album at all. Even the songs that Ben describes that way, I don't really.
Right.
I kind of disagree. And it's an album that I've been able to turn to for 20 years basically at this point, as a source of comfort, and through breakups and through deaths in my family or whatever it is. I feel like this is it's kind of sneakily became kind of a pillar of my life in a way. Because like you said, I had kind of a similar experience where it did kind of, I remember the singles. I remember I Will Follow You Into the Dark being on mix CDs that, my same friends who were really into Bright Eyes and bands like that would listen to. And I remember the Soul Meets Body on VH1 and stuff like that. And then it just at one point I realized like, oh, this is a classic.
Yeah. Something I'm gonna preface this by saying I've read this on Reddit of all places, but it really did seem apt. Is somebody described the like kind of relationship between transatlanticism and plans as like transatlanticism is an inhale and plans is an exhale. And
that's very good.
That is very good. I was like, that really kind of encapsulates the whole thing. Holy shit. Because these two albums are inextricably paired in both like just where they came out in the band's career and just like, this like much like the thing we talked about with Mitski, this in a lot of ways does feel like an answer to transatlanticism. Like we're kind of in the trenches of like the trials and tribulations of life in transatlanticism, talking about physical and emotional distance. And then here, like, what happens when you've bridged that? Like, what do you have to deal with now that one problem is solved? And it's just as heavy, but like you said, like this album in many ways feels really, really, comforting, I think is the right way to put it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think so much of that comes from the recording process. Ben has mentioned many times that he feels like they've made their best records when they're happy. And, they made Transatlanticism over, 7 months or something like that, multiple studios.
Yeah.
This one, they at least, again, made a plan to track the entire thing in a month at Longview Farm in Massachusetts, which is this legendary recording studio that I had the Wikipedia up, but like a ton of bands have made records there that both in this scene and like the Rolling Stones used it. So this is like a studio that is in this big old barn in rural Massachusetts. They basically like, okay, we're gonna hunker down here for a month and make a record, and they sort of drove themselves crazy. But also they seem to look back fondly on it, but also are a little bit like, we could have done this differently.
Yeah, there were a lot of comparisons in the interviews to the production of the photo album, which was not a great starting point.
Right, it was way too fast and frantic. But this one is like, feels like it's kind of in the middle, because they went in with songs that they liked, and but they're also, we don't want to record in LA or Seattle because we're going to be too close to home, too close to the label. We're going to go off on our own. They said that they spent most of their budget sending their gear across the country and then did end up using a lot of that gear.
Yep.
And they also kind of like learned about, they had planned to do more like recording live with the band in the room, but that studio didn't lend itself well to that type of recording, which meant that they ended up having a lot of, like, everyone besides Chris had a lot of kind of free time while, one person was just recording for hours on end. Chris saying that he worked like 12-hour days every day and didn't leave the studio for literally the entire month that they were there. Is wild. I think that's just his work ethic, and he's like, I just really like being behind a console. And also he's like, this is the first Death Cab record that's recorded on a digital recording system, which Chris was very skeptical of. And it's not like to Pro Tools, which is still kind of not in its infancy, but less developed than it is now. And so I don't know, all this stuff goes into them taking their time but also feeling rushed, I guess, is kind of the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But they don't seem, they don't seem unhappy with this process the way that they do with Photo Album or later on with Codes and Keys. I don't know, the stories, they're like goofing off in the studio. Like there's fun stuff. This photo book that I have that Autumn de Wilde published has a lot of good interviews with them specifically about the recording of this album that it's worth seeking out for a fan. But the other thing that's kind of crazy is they realized like they couldn't do vocals in that studio. Just because they just kept having like technical problems. And so they end up doing a lot of the vocals, I think, back in Seattle, a little bit later on.
Yeah, that's what I recall being the case too. Does that photo book have the $300 worth of Knights of the Round Table costumes that they bought?
Oh, it sure does.
Amazing. I need to see that.
So this is just, it's one of those things that it's like, this is a band who I think, going to a major label was not a thing that they certainly not a thing they foresaw early on in their career, but also a thing that like every indie band at the time, they like very carefully considered. It's like, what is this going to mean for our fans? What is this going to mean for us? Are we still going to have the kind of control we like over our records? And they said that the label did not like interfere at all with this. They, they made the record that they wanted to make. And some fans think it sounds too refined or too clean, or, that they've lost something there. But I think Chris Walla talks about like that refinement is what they were going for, and like he thinks of that, this album being more refined and more direct than Transatlanticism is a positive thing, and I agree. There's also, once they have the major label like machine behind them, Ben talks about like we decided we have one shot at this, we're gonna lean into it, and they're like we did every interview, we did everything that we were offered. And and so Death Cab becomes even more so than they already were, kind of like the poster boys for indie rock in that moment.
Yeah. And they kind of, they're doing TV appearances, both, your traditional like late night things, but also like they perform on the OC, I believe, in this like kind of general time frame. So yeah, they are more visible than ever in as many ways as you can possibly imagine a band being.
Did you have at this time? So what, you're in high school or early college when this record comes out, or senior year of high school?
Yeah, late high school. Senior year.
Do you remember the sort of like vibe around this band? I know you were like more of a punk than me, but like,
sure.
did you because I remember some of the sort of like, oh, they're a band for wusses, or they're like soft, or they're like they kind of have this sort of like nerdy / preppy vibe to a lot of their just how they dress and how they're presented at the time. What do you remember what like your friend group's impression of Death Cab was?
Not really, because like my wider friend group was like pretty like diverse in terms of its like listening habits. Like the same friends that I was like hanging out with that were listening to like MCR and shit were also listening to like Bright Eyes and like stuff that was more in this camp. So like not very much was like quote unquote for wusses, like unless somebody was being real judgy. But I will say that I did catch that vibe kind of from the greater populace at the time. Like it felt like people were like, oh yeah, this is the music that soft boys listen to, like, is kind of what it was.
Right. There's like a cultural like turning on indie rock right around this time.
Yes,
because
definitely.
I mean, right after this is Arcade Fire. I mean, I guess Arcade Fire gets really popular around then, but I feel like there's already like a sort of turning of the tide there, I think. I don't really quite know how to put my finger on it, but I just remember there being a lot of derision around anyone who dressed in the, basically the way that Ben dresses in the Soul Meets Body video.
Right, yeah. There are a lot of bad hats in that Soul Meets Body video, I will say.
But yeah, I mean, all this is to say that like the album that comes out of this is, to me, like an undeniably great. I have a few nits to pick with it, which we'll get to in the songs, but really not that much. I mean, this is a like I think I already called it a classic on this episode, and I do stand by that.
I agree with you. It is I would say a stone cold classic. I don't know if I'm quite at the place of it being my favorite, but it's probably my second favorite, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I'm always surprised if I see a Death Cab ranking where this is not 1 or 2. You
mean like Ben Gibbard's rating?
Oh, that's true. What does he have it down?
It's at 4 around the time that Kintsugi, I think, was coming out.
Okay. I don't know. I think this is better than the early stuff, but I didn't write it, so I don't know.
Yeah, who are we to say? We're not talking to Dan Ozzie about our own discography right now.
Yeah. Should we talk about the songs?
Yeah, let's get into them.
All right, so this album starts off with Marching Bands of Manhattan, which, as you talked about, the sort of comparing this album to Transatlanticism and how they're connected. Transatlanticism was an album about distance, and this opens with a line about bridging a great distance, which I think is like a really nice transition point between the two records.
Oh yeah, absolutely. How massive are these opening lines just in general? If I could open my arms and span the length of the Isle of Manhattan, I'd bring it to where you are, making a lake of the East River and Hudson. Like, come on, that's like top-notch Ben Gibbard imagery right out the gate. And then like you said, it brings us into this new place from where we've just been, if you're listening to these albums in sequence like we are.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, I find this to be such an inviting opener. And it just, the way that it builds really subtly, the synths and the like eighth note guitar and bass line and the floor tom and the shaker, it just and then there's like that fuzzy guitar layer that sneaks in near the end. It's an unconventional structure, but it is the perfect build to start an album like this.
Yeah, these like kind of slow builds that like really open up into like not like necessarily like bombast or heaviness, like that. This is what Death Cab excels at, especially at this point in their career.
Right. It's somewhere between the like Tape Loop Odyssey thing and the sort of more rocking, live band thing. Like they found the perfect medium.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you find this song optimistic or pessimistic?
That's a really great question. Because like it's both. It
literally contains the lyric half, like debating half empty or half full, which is why I like was thinking about it.
No, that's a valid question, and it ends just on the repeated "Your love is gonna drown." Like I tend towards pessimism, but like I think it's more of a creeping dread than a pessimism. I think like this is very in line with the theme of the album. Like this is like the not acceptance of, but the awareness of the fact that things will have to end one way or another at some point is kind of how I read it.
Yeah, I like that. I could agree with that. I just because I think the verses are so bright and so optimistic, but they're describing things that are impossible and cannot happen, which is why I was thinking about the sorrow that creeps in is inevitable despite all of that stuff, and like faucets leaking, it happens even if you don't notice.
Yeah, the imagery in that back half of the song, which is really just the chorus, quote unquote, as they say in the Genius annotations. Like, yeah, it like half the song is this like kind of water imagery of like, things seeping, things dripping, which when I say it like that makes it sound gross. I promise it's a really well-constructed set of lyrics, if you haven't already heard this song, in which case, why are you here? But you know what I mean. I really like the contrast between like kind of the A part and the B part of this song, to your point.
I agree. Which is a thing they'll do multiple times on this record, these kind of
for sure.
two-part songs where there's the front half and the back half of the song are these distinct ideas that also complement each other.
Yeah. Fun fact, this is maybe, and I believe he said maybe, friend of the show Blake Carell's favorite Death Cab opener.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Favorite opener.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to think. I think I'd take the New Year over this, but I mean, they're both great.
Yeah, the other text I received from him was "The New Year is looming over my shoulder, scowling." So
Yeah. After that is Soul Meets Body, the lead single from the album. This is like a light, airy, acoustic guitar-driven song. Chris Walla describes it as disco on acoustic instruments, which kind of works with that way that drum beat is constructed.
It really does.
I mean, this is a love song. I think it's a great song. What do you think of it?
I really like this song. That like kind of to the point of like acoustic disco. It's funny because like that, like the hallmark of disco is like 4 on the floor, like bass drum, hi-hat, snare. But like that bass drum pattern that like starts the song and also like kind of comes back towards the middle is so wild. Like the kind of like stuttering syncopated thing that he's got going on. I really, really love it. But like, yeah, lyrically, this song's really fun in a lot of ways. Like, at least melodically, maybe not lyrically. We get that like fun little interlude that's just like kind of the wordless ba 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 ba's.
I mean, it's just the chorus melody, but it's the way that the song like focuses in on it is so great.
Yeah, it's really, really good. One thing I do have to mention about this song is when you get to the line, "So brown eyes, I'll hold you near," I always hear bright eyes instead of brown eyes, and I don't know why, because it's like not that like obscured by the way Ben's saying it. It just catches me off guard every single time.
Yeah. I think it's worth pointing out the lyric from the chorus that if the silence takes you, then I hope it takes me too, which is kind of the first explicit reference to this theme of the way that death and love are tied together that goes throughout the album. I mean, it's very clearly connected to "I Will Follow You Into the Dark," but like I don't know, just the way that this song is this sort of like looking forward to a future with someone, I think is like a great thing to have kind of at the beginning of this album as it sort of tracks the long, slow course of a relationship.
Yeah, I and like to kind of like, I mean, the song opens with where the title comes from, the "I Want to Live Where Soul Meets Body," and like yeah, like kind of contrasting that with this idea of like what it looks like to reach the end of someone you love's life. Like we open with the opposite idea of that, right? Like the commingling of soul and body is what life is in a nutshell. Depending on what you believe, but we'll say for the sake of this song, that's exactly what we're talking about here.
Right, yeah. There's a music video for this that we kind of mentioned a little bit before, which is basically Ben walking through the woods singing the song, and these like floating music notes that like bloom out of the trees and then float over the city. And the band is playing in this kind of like rustic cabin, but all close together. It's the aesthetic matches, like I said, the kind of the indie rock, indie folk of the time.
It is truly one of the most mid-2000 things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I definitely had seen this video, despite like not being really in tune with music videos at this point. Like I saw this music video many, many times when I was younger. Because I distinctly remember Ben walking into that cabin.
Yeah, this is my era of every morning as I'm getting ready for school, I have VH1 on. So I see every music video that comes out, in the time when I'm in junior high and early high school. So this was definitely in rotation then.
For sure, yeah.
After that is Summer Skin, kind of a less, kind of a, not a step back, but certainly like a sort of calming or focusing of the album after these kind of two bigger songs to start the record off. I just love the bass line in the song. It's really good.
Yeah, that's literally like the first thing I have written about this is just some notes on like the arrangement, and then just the bass part for this song is so cool. Thank you, Nick Harmer. You're always doing cool things for us.
Truly, as we've said before, the most underappreciated, underrated aspect of this band is his bass playing, and it's like all over 100%. This record. It's just like, oh, that's so cool. He's playing this big like hollow body bass on a lot of the in a lot of the promo, the Conan appearance and stuff like that. It's in the Soul Meets Body video. It's just a very distinct sound. I like it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is another song that we kind of follow that like two distinct parts like construction, except instead of this time instead of like first half of the song being one thing and the second half of the song being another thing, we kind of like A-B it as far as I can tell. Like it to be really reductive about it, I'm seeing like a positive negative arrangement here.
Yeah,
verses.
I think it's very matter of fact about its its theme, its ideas, which is about this, the fading of a childhood love, and as you grow up and and change, and you might grow apart from a person. I connected it a lot to "We Look Like Giants," but it's a little more matter of fact and it feels a little less regretful than that song does. This is more of like, this is the thing that happens, which is again tying to the way that this album is thinking a lot about the inevitability of death or the passage of time.
Yeah. This is one of the times where we don't necessarily get like, ultimate fatalistic about it, but it is very much like the things grow apart of it all, which is another constant theme on this record.
Yeah, kind of a bummer to think about right after the beauty of Soul Meets Body, but like I said, it all is of a piece.
Yeah, definitely.
Then you got Different Names for the Same Thing. A song that starts off with like a sample of crackling fire under piano chords. Even it's kind of cool filter and echo on the vocals. Feels like a very assembled Chris Walla production choice there. This is another one of those that has like a couple quiet verses and then a big speeding up, expanding instrumental, another cool bass line. Just a really neatly structured song that builds into something pretty awesome.
Yeah, this is one of those songs where like on like kind of more casual listens where I more or less have this on in the background. Like this one doesn't hit quite, But when I'm like sitting with it, I'm like, oh, this song is really, really cool. It kind of the crackling fire effect, like it feels like that's trying to be mimicked in the rest of the mix too, because there are parts that just like kind of like dip briefly and then come back and like come into focus and fade out of focus, like just in really minute ways. And that might just be the way the mix is interacting with that, like, I guess, field recording of a fire or whatever you want to call it. But I really like the way that it all meshes together is really, really cool. I kind of get the impression from this, and I didn't read anything that necessarily confirms this, but I get the impression that this was one of those songs that like came in as a 2-minute thing, and then like the decision was made like, well, we don't need more lyrics, we just need more of the song, and I think it really works here.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Do you, again, I'm going to ask you, do you find the song to be sort of optimistic or pessimistic? What do you make of these lyrics?
I think it's a little more pessimistic, and insofar that like this is a theme that like gets explored a lot, not necessarily by Death Cab, but just kind of in general. This kind of idea of like the limits that language imposes on us, and the ways in which it offers us the ability to express any given thing, or doesn't. This is the thing that I love when people write about this, especially if they are like fluent in more than one language. There's a whole Kaveh Akbar poetry book that like addresses this a lot. Sorry, this is all like kind of tangentially related, but like it is, that's like kind of the theme they're exploring here, is like this like I want to express this one thing and I can't, and yet we're in a situation where like there's 50 different names for this same thing for this same place. And I think it's like, in a weird way, it's just kind of like observational in that sense, but it is kind of tinged with pessimism on my read of it.
Totally, and I like this idea. I'm very interested in that poetry book you mentioned, but I like this idea that, yeah, that it is about this frustration with language that you have because you're trying to express like the beauty of something that you're seeing, but at the same time feeling like this sense of apathy and disconnect while whether you're on tour or traveling, or you're like where you're disconnected from the people who you could express this to if you have some kind of unspoken language, just the love that you know, through a love that you've developed over years or whatever it is. Like there's an element of that too.
Definitely, yeah.
But mostly, I mean, this song I'm really drawn to for that, for like kind of the instrumental back half.
Oh my god, those vibes are so good.
Yeah, oh, it's great. Then you get "I Will Follow You Into the Dark," the marquee song of this album, song that was nominated for a Grammy. This is the song that, you know, Ben Gibbard will be remembered for till, you know, the end of indie rock as a thing.
Right. Yeah. 100%. There's simultaneously not a lot to say about this song and a ton to say about this song. One thing I do want to lead with is I really love that this like take was almost kind of accidental. Insofar that like they were trying to record something else, and like this was where we like kind of experienced like technical difficulties with like vocal monitoring, and like Chris was like, let's take a break, like we'll figure it out. He still had like the room mic on, and Ben just picked up the guitar and started playing this song, and he was like, no, actually, hold on, we're gonna do this right now, because it's not gonna get better than this. Like this particular song is not gonna get better than this. And it's like just a like one mic mono, little bit of a compressor and a de-esser, and that's it from like a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
And like you said, this is by country miles the biggest Death Cab song. It has transcended being a Death Cab song, if I'm real honest with you. Like, it is a song that exists for people who don't have a goddamn clue who Death Cab is.
Right. I mean, this is a song that gets played at weddings, that gets played at presumably funerals. Like,
has to.
Yeah. I mean, just it is the sort of truest examination on this album of this, along with what Sarah said, of this love is watching someone die. This idea that like when there's nothing left, when it's just us, like whichever one of us goes, if you go first, I will follow you there. And it's this, like you said, he talks about writing this for a partner, and he thought it was a sweet song. She was like, this is so incredibly sad. And then it is both of those things at the same time. And it's able to sort of bridge all these different times of your life, times in a relationship, all these different emotions, and sort of capture them all together. I get chills at like the bridge, especially the all worn down, the time for sleep is now, but it's nothing to cry about. Like, Jesus Christ, it's so good.
I like, that last bit before the like last chorus is like, even if it's not hitting for you so far, which it would be insane, like that's gotta be like where you go, oh my god, okay, yeah, no, I get it now, I get this song. Like, yeah, I don't know, this song hits every time for me. Like I get emotional about it every single time. Because it like I agree with Ben. It is one of the sweetest songs I've ever heard. Like, yes, the sadness is there. Yes, it is talking about death, but like to the point of what Sarah said, love is watching someone die. Like that is just what it is. Like, and we sometimes have to acknowledge that. And what do you know? It produced one of the most popular indie rock songs of all time.
Yeah, I think it's notable that this is a song on this record, one of the few songs on this record that is just a very conventional structure. It's a very, like, it has regular rhyme, like an ABAB rhyme scheme, and and just is a verse chorus bridge chorus structure. And they don't try to do too much with it, like you said, right, Chris, recognizing that, like, we just need to track this now because this is the best version of this that we're ever gonna have. I think they had planned to do more with it later, but props to everyone involved for realizing, like, this didn't need anything else.
Yeah,
I mean, and you can just hear it in the performance. It's that's like a once in a lifetime recording of a song.
Yeah, definitely. Imagine if Chris hadn't left that mic on accident.
Right. I mean, it still would have been good, but they obviously captured something special there.
Definitely.
There's a music video for this. This was a huge hit single. There's a music video for it, which is totally so kind of off from what the song is. Maybe not off, but like,
oh my god,
it's just it's
a little off.
Yeah, it's Ben playing the song in this little apartment, and then he like sees a hole in the floor, and the hole keeps getting bigger, and he falls into it. And they do all this like manipulation of the song. There's like diegetic sound in the music video. They looks into this black expanse and the song gets all echoey, and it's like distracting and weird and a little too cute and on the nose. I like the idea. I don't think it's like a well executed music video ultimately, but there's a shot of the camera inside a guitar, which I always love.
That was I was like, oh, this video is going to be great, because this is weirdly one I had never seen, and I don't know how that happened. But
yeah, I'd never seen it either.
I saw the first shot, and I'm like, oh well, okay, it's Ben on a cot in the corner of a tiny apartment. I'm not sure how good this is going to be. And then that shot happens, and I'm like, all right, I'm all in. And then I wasn't all in anymore. I don't know how much we need to talk about Directions, the kind of like visual album that accompanies this record, but like, if you find yourself wanting with this video, watch the Directions video for this song. It is incredibly simple, but also like really, really striking. It's like basically like the premise is like somebody is going through a sketchbook, and like that sketchbook is like kind of chronicling the life of these two rabbits, and also like putting in some other images of like humans and vegetation and stuff that like just like feels like it captures the mood of the song a lot better than this video does.
Yeah, that sounds cute. I need to check that out.
I got a tattoo idea from that video, so it's good.
Yeah. Up next is Your Heart Is an Empty Room. This isn't one that, I mean, it's hard to follow. I will follow you into the dark, obviously.
It really is.
And it does change tone quite a bit, because this is a song that is almost questioning the theme of the rest of the album. This idea, it's like a meditation on the idea that you might only be happy in pursuit of something, and when you actually get it, you just want to start over. So I mean, there's that, but there's also, I think this song has some of Chris Wallace's best guitar work. He sounds like he's doing his version of like The Edge and U2.
It is 100% so U2 inspired.
It's so cool. I love it.
It really is.
You know, they talk a lot about in this era of their record label wanting them to be the American Coldplay, and this almost feels like they're trying to do that a little bit, but they can only push so far into Coldplay territory before they like have to check themselves a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very apt thing to throw out, especially with this song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like this song. Like, I think this is like a little bit of a showcase for like we talked about Jason's drumming on a lot on the last episode, but like this is very much the restraint that he showcases, because like half this song is just like him playing the bass drum and doing an occasional cymbal swell, because that's what the song needs. It all like really lends to the feeling they're going for here.
Worth noting that this is only the first time they'd ever made 2 albums in a row with the same drummer.
Yes, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so he is so well incorporated into the band at this point. They've done a ton of touring together. They are all, obviously, they respect him a ton as a drummer. And I remember if it's Chris or Ben in one of the interviews was like, he's so good at not making the songs about the drums, despite being like the greatest drummer in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's kind of what you're getting at with this, and the kick drum pattern thing you pointed out in Soul Meets Body.
Oh yeah, I mean, he gets to go nuts on some of these songs, and it's incredible. Like watching him drum in the music videos for this album is just a treat. This song's kind of wild, like lyrically, especially towards the end. I feel like we hit this turn in like the kind of second to last set of lyrics here. The flames and smoke climbed out every window and disappeared with everything that you held dear, but shed not a single tear for the things you didn't need. Because you knew you were finally free. Like this kind of release from the kind of central tension of the song, it feels like.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, it's kind of it's the burning down, but it's like because the song is about like wondering if that is all that you're destined for. I guess is kind of how I think of it.
Yeah,
but. And that kind of ties into the next song, Someday You Will Be Loved, which is kind of 2 songs in a row about breakups or the thinking about leaving or release or however you want to phrase it. But this is a song that is similar to Tiny Vessels on the last record, a breakup song, or sorry, no, that's on Transatlanticism.
It's on Transatlanticism.
Yeah,
you're right.
A breakup song from the perspective of the one who's leaving their relationship. This is a song that both Ben Gibbard and Dan Ozzie in the album ranking interview describe as a very mean song. And what do you make of that? Because I don't know if I agree.
I sort of get where they're coming from, but I don't feel the intensity for that angle that they seem to. Like, yes, this is from the perspective of somebody who leaves a relationship, and like, yes, that is inherently kind of mean. But like, clearly it's not working. Like,
the meanest is that they leave in a cowardly way, that they just they flee and leave a note. And so I get that aspect of it, but everything else about the song is like about recognizing the inevitable, that like time will heal the wound, and you will, you know, I mean, just a series of blurs like I never occurred. I think that's a really great line. And I don't know, again, it's a song that I find really comforting, and maybe that's like maybe there's something I need to explore with that, but like when I read that interview, I was like, I don't, you know, to me the song is like, what if Tiny Vessels but not an asshole?
Yeah, like yes, the actions of the narrator of this song, like, yeah, could have made better choices, but like, yeah, I think the core of the song is like, honestly, like, not, I don't want to go so far as to say it's kind of sweet, but like it is a very like it's a really positive song in a way that I wouldn't say about other songs on this record. Like it you know, it recognizes this is the thing that we've talked about in the past, that like Ben wasn't great at in like very early Death Cab stuff. This like kind of introspection on like your own actions and like how they affect others. And this feels like it is very like I recognize that this isn't good for either of us, and I feel like I have to make the move here. And like, yes, the move is cowardly, but ultimately it will be good for you, and that's kind of what's important to me in this context. Which in a weird way is kind of admirable. Again, don't leave a person by leaving a note. That's a really fucking bad idea.
Don't break up via text.
Yeah. Talk to your partners about your problems, even if it is an irreconcilable one. But also, I don't think it's as mean as either of them makes it out to be at all.
Yeah. You know what else rules in this song? The song has a bridge that's like 4 bars long, and it's just like a revving up of guitars.
Oh, it's so sick.
And then that last chorus is so heavy and loud. It's really, really great.
Yeah. One thing that Ben also mentions in that interview is that like he feels like the song comes from like a dishonest place, and that's part of what he doesn't like about it. Explore that how you will. But like the ultimate thing that he says about it is that like he felt like this song became something that needed a lot of production in order to make it interesting. And I do agree that the production is a lot of what makes this song interesting compared to any other song on this record, for sure. But I still don't think it's a bad song at its core by any means.
Yeah, I don't notice the production on this song. I'm not like thinking about it in a way that as I am on, I mean, for instance, Different Names for the Same Thing, where I'm like, I am noticing all the production stuff, but I think it's really cool. Whereas this one just, I don't know, it just feels like a song to me. I don't know.
Okay, that actually brings me to a thing that I do notice about this song every single time, no matter how actively I am listening. There's this part in the second verse, when he gets to the second time he says, "Someday you will be loved," for reasons I don't understand, and like I have to assume it was intentional, but it feels wrong. Like he gets to that "someday you will be loved," and the vocals jump from being like 50-50 in either ear to being like 75-25 left ear, right ear, and I no idea why it happens, and it's only for that line, and it comes right back to being like normal seconds later. It's very strange.
You know what? Now that you say that, yes, I do remember being distracted by that and also thinking that like, oh, my headphones are fucked up or something.
Yeah, I keep thinking I'm losing my mind or losing out on some very expensive electronics that I don't want to replace.
Yeah, I can see the band arguing about that moment and being like, we really need to do this, or that being like too much production. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I had forgotten that was in there.
Yeah, but either way, yeah, I don't think this song is like overblown in that department by any means. That's just a thing I noticed, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't losing my mind.
Yeah, no, I do remember that.
Okay, great.
Then we get Crooked Teeth. This is my favorite Death Cab for Cutie song. It rocks in the way that I just love when they rock. I think the lyrics are great. I think that guitar riff has this almost like Weezer-ish bounce to it with this incredible bass line. I don't know. Everything about the song is kind of my ideal Death Cab. And I've just, ever since I first heard it, I've just kind of like never been able to get enough of it.
It's so catchy. I wrote down that this song is jaunty. Sorry about it, but it is. Yeah, that guitar line like reminds me of like Village Green Preservation Society by the Kinks or Warning by Green Day, because they're the same like lead line, even though there it's a bass, but it's got the same kind of vibe, and I really, really love that. But yeah, this song is so incredibly catchy. Like, two things from this album, aside from I Will Follow You Into the Dark, have been stuck in my head over the course of the last like 4 days. One is the little like guitar line that happens in Soul Meets Body, the like little acoustic like riff that keeps coming back, and then pretty much literally the entirety of this song. It's just that it grabs you that much.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, so this is a song I feel like it, in my head, is connected to Death of an Interior Designer on Transatlanticism, in that they're both songs where he's sort of digging into a different writer. I mean, because Death of an Interior Decorator or Designer, whatever it is it's just kind of like retelling a Woody Allen movie. And this one is very much inspired by Raymond Carver and the way that he would, the types of characters he would write about and the way that he would write about them. And maybe that's what I like about it, is that it feels, it's obviously a work of fiction, and it is Ben writing in kind of a slightly different style than he usually does, but not like unrecognizable. Just like, it's just a little bit different, and it catches my ear every time, melodically, lyrically. A weird song where I think the verses are catchier than the choruses, but the choruses also just absolutely rock.
Oh yeah, like every part of this song absolutely rocks, so I totally understand having that take. Yeah, I like that this is a song where, like, yeah, instead of the thing that happened with Death of Interior, I think it is Decorator. I'm not going to look it up right now. I think I like that Ben like gets to do like emulation as opposed to like kind of direct conversation with like a specific work. Because I think that's where he gets to bring more of himself into it, and I think it works a lot better as a result as a song. And again, like half my notes on this are just like snippets of lyrics. Like, I built you a home in my heart with rotten wood and decayed from the start. Like, come on, that's so good. The state line felt like the Berlin Wall, and there was no doubt which side I was on. Like, these are all
the little that he does at the end of that line is so good.
It is. It's really, really good.
The one like little thing that I bump on in the song is in the last chorus when he changes it to "there were churches, theme parks, and malls, but there was nothing there all along." Almost feels like the LA song on Photo Album to me. And it's it's a bit of an obvious critique, but I like the way that it punctuates the song regardless.
I didn't draw that comparison at all, because the way I was thinking about that line was like, there is stuff in our relationship, but it doesn't have substance. Like that, and that can happen anywhere. Which I thought was an interesting like thing to like end the song on.
And it's the character realizing that, and not Ben from his own perspective complaining about something, which is the other reason I feel like it's okay.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Fun music video for this one too. This kind of like neat live action animation hybrid, a lot of stop motion. Just another one like I don't remember ever seeing before.
I really like this one, but I don't think I had seen it either.
It's a real third music video for an album video in the sense that there's not like a story to it or anything, but it's just kind of like, here's a neat visual thing we can do.
Yeah, I think I didn't look this up, but I'm assuming that it was done by the same person who did the Someday You Will Be Loved Directions video, because the animation style is like fairly similar, and there are like some feels like callbacks to like that other video.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Next up is What Sarah Said. It's hard to call this the centerpiece of the album when it's track 9 of 11, but
right. But it's still this is the transatlanticism of this album, I would argue.
It really is. I mean, and also, stylistically, it's the one where it's the longest song on the record. It's the one where they get to kind of stretch out and get all spacious in the arrangement. And it is the core piece of the album's theme. It's where that "Love Is Watching Someone Die" line comes from. Just, I mean, the whole song is about visiting someone who is dying in the hospital, and just all the like little observational pieces of imagery that make up this, this experience, this telling of this experience, I think are so good. And then the way that it builds and then gets so quiet for the kicker line, I'm thinking of what Sarah said, "The love is watching someone die." It's immaculate. It's what this band is best at.
Yeah, just the way that it's like, it's just vocals and like a tiny bit of piano and like the guitar line that's like building into the next part when we hit that "Love Is Watching Someone Die" part. Like that, that it's so masterfully executed. Like we've already talked a lot about like Ben kind of like wanting to lean more on like, I want you to hear the song once and I want you to know exactly what it is about and like what that means to you. And this is like exemplary of that from all angles.
Right, and he does it so well that even having the rest of the song be this repeated, "So who's gonna watch you die," is not putting too fine a point on it. It is the way that those vocals are recorded and mixed, and just like he's saying, it's like, I mean, he's saying what you are supposed to be thinking, which again, it might be too fine of a point on it, but I just also think it's like what the song needs at that moment.
I don't think it is at all. Like I think this song needs that. We'll talk about this a little more when we get to Stable Song, I think. But like I think that like in a lot of ways this feels like this song should be the closer of the album, kind of the same way that we talked about how transatlanticism is kind of like the end of the arc of like quote unquote the album proper, and then there's other very good songs after that. Like that kind of feels like where we're at here. Like I think the ending of this song would have to be very different for it to be a closer. And I think that if they had gone for that, it would have suffered for it. Like I think this song like sits very well as like the almost last track, but not quite the penultimate track either. Whatever you call the third to last song.
There needs to be some kind of denouement after this, even if it is where the album sort of reaches its emotional climax.
Exactly, yeah.
And that denouement then is Brothers on a Hotel Bed, which is the way these two songs transition into each other with this like piano part in a loop is really well done too. This song has a tension to it that is like contrast with the piano part in a really nice way. I just really like that. This is a song about aging in a relationship, about the fear or the certainty that, you know, you won't see your partner the same or they won't see you the same as you get older. What do you think of this one?
This song is absolutely fucking devastating.
Yeah, it really is.
But like it's another one of those songs where like there's not a ton going on in terms of like instrumentation. Like you said, it's pretty much the piano, the vocals, and then the loop that's happening in the background, which I think is just kind of like scraping fingers along like the piano strings, a la like, well, not like Henry Cowell's The Banshee, because that piece is like very like noisy in parts in a way that this is not. But like that's the first thing I think of. And like yeah, like that, just having that in the background against this like very, very beautiful piano part that's, you know, accompanying the vocals, like it creates this tension even without the lyrics creating that tension, and then the lyrics kind of pile the feeling on, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like obviously you draw the connection back to Summer Skin, a song about seasons changing as a metaphor for, you know, love changing and aging, and then this starting with the "You may tire of me as our December sun is setting," as then you get from the, you know, the youth of summer to the winter of old age, and those that makes sense as these sort of like not quite bookends but almost bookends for this album.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like this song feels like it really ties together a lot of the themes of the album, like just like even disparate ones from like songs that aren't necessarily related to each other. Like we kind of get the "Your Heart Is an Empty Room" with the "I've learned that even landlocked lovers yearn for the sea like Navy men," which like kind of ties into the other songs that are like a little more about like loss of love or love that maybe was never there. You know, we're talking about aging, we're talking about nearing end of life in general, which is a lot of the other songs on the record too. Like it's really like it really ties a lot of things together in a way that like a song that is like this short lyrically speaking like maybe has no business doing. And I love that about it.
I do want to get into the main, like the title line of the song, because now we say goodnight from our own separate sides like brothers on a hotel bed. I'm so fascinated by this as a simile because I think the brothers on a hotel bed image is so joyous to me, because it's one of those things that like I look back on those like family vacations where I did share a hotel bed with my own brother, and even if there's like, you know, fighting or strife or arguing with each other at the time, I look back on it so fondly, and like I think that there's that mix of emotions is very intentional. What he's trying to conjure with that phrase is very intentional, and it gives the song a ton of depth to me, and like it like makes me rethink the sadness of the song, you know, in that final, I guess basically the final line.
Yeah, no, like that it really encapsulates kind of like what the rest of the song is going for really succinctly. Like there's this separation, you know, in terms of like people who have been lovers their whole lives being in the same bed but being effectively separate from each other. But like, there has been joy. There occasionally still is joy. There has been love. There is love to whatever degree it still exists. Like, it shoves a lot into 6 words, and one of them is like,
right.
Come on.
Yeah. I just that line struck me more than ever before on this listening this week.
Definitely, yeah. I feel that.
And then the closing track is Stable Song, a song that we've talked about before because it was reworked from the song from the photo album era called Stability at the time, where it was 12 minutes long, largely kind of loops and stuff like that. This is this sort of back to the original demo of that song, obviously re-recorded and rearranged, but the core of it is there. This was a song that in interviews Ben has talked about, like, they felt like something was missing as they were going through what they had for the album, and so that's why they kind of decided to resurrect the song. They also kind of wanted to give the song its due, give it another shot anyway. What do you think of this as a closing track?
That's a great question. I don't know, and I've been trying to figure it out for the last like day and a half. And the conclusion I've come to is I'm really not sure. This feels like it fits on the album for sure. Like, we have a lot of like our themes that we've just talked about ad nauseum. We specifically hit this line towards the end, the gift of memory is an awful curse, and with age it gets much worse.
The best line in the song for sure.
Oh, unquestionably. But then turning it around to, but I won't mind. A very loaded last bit of the song. In terms of like the implications of what that means given the line that preceded it. But like, yeah, I don't feel like this wraps up ideas on the album. I feel like it does add to them. Sonically, it's not quite like anything else on the album. Like, again, it still fits sonically, but I don't think we don't have a ton of like these like kind of more 680 like jams on the record proper. The Jealousy Rides With Me notwithstanding, which is like not an actual album track. I don't know. Like, I struggle a little bit with like why this is the closer, except for the fact that like I can't think of where else it would fit, and nothing else makes sense as a closer either. At least not as it stands.
That's when I mentioned having like a nit to pick with this record. That is it. Exactly what you just said.
Yeah. Well, and we've kind of talked about this. Like, Death Cab, line of best fit notwithstanding, not really a closing song band for the most part. But yeah, it this one just is a little bit more baffling than like even A Lack of Color is to me. And I don't find that one particularly baffling. This one just seems like, especially since they're revisiting a song that like at this point in their career, like we have a different version of. And I would be interested to see like what would have happened if they had like kind of kept it like the 12-minute version. I don't think that would have worked much better, but
no,
at least it would have felt a little more like, okay, like I get why this is like a closer. Maybe it's not the closer for this album, but I understand why it's here.
I'll give you one more read on this song, which I think
sure.
it ties into something I think I said on the photo album episode. But,
totally.
So one of the things they talk about in the interviews in the about making this record is that one of the things that started to like get on their nerves over the course of making this record for a month was that to get to the studio they had to like literally walk through a stable, like walk through a barn full of horses. And, and I think I somewhat jokingly said on the photo album episode that I was like, in my head, this is just literally a song about horses. Like, there's no metaphor. And I kind of am now, I like that even more now thinking about it in that context. I don't think it's, there's more to it than just that, but I also I'm sort of tickled by the idea of ending this beautiful album about, the inevitability of death and, aging in a relationship with, here's a song about horses that have not run a race in a while and what they might be thinking about.
Horses are deeply symbolic, but we do need to mention them if we want to get that across.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's plans. we mentioned this was nominated for some Grammys. It was nominated for Grammys in 2 separate years because of the absurd Grammy nomination window and the way single releases work.
Yeah.
But did you look up at all what categories it was nominated for and who it lost to?
I did not, but I would love to hear more.
Okay, so for the 2006 Grammys, the album was nominated for Best Alternative Album. Do you have any guesses what beat Plans at the Grammys that year? It is a very popular band in this. I would not call them indie rock. They were just more of like a rock band. One of the I would say quintessential rock bands of this era.
Is it Nickelback?
No, a good band.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Who
they
is
lose
it?
to Get Behind Me, Satan by the White Stripes.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense and is probably a well-deserved win.
Yeah. Less well-deserved is in the 2007 Grammys. I Will Follow You Into the Dark is nominated for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals, and they lose to this is a much more auspicious category this year. I'm not even gonna try to make you guess. You will never guess what they lost to. They lost to My Humps by the Black Eyed Peas.
God damn it.
I
should have seen that coming, honestly.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
That is
but
rough.
very, very cool that they get Grammy nominations for this record. The legacy of this album is kind of undeniable, even without the industry stuff. It's just this is a record that means a ton to so many people, their fans, and also just like people who might have heard "I Will Follow You Into the Dark" at a wedding once.
Right. Yeah.
We got some B-sides. You mentioned Jealousy Rides with Me a little bit, and then Talking Like Turnstiles is the other non-album track that gets out on vinyl bonus track or compilation or whatever. What do you think of those two sort of leftover songs?
I like both of these. Like I really, they definitely don't fit on the album in any particular way. Like Talking Like Turnstiles is a really fun one. Like it's borderline like power pop. There's some like really intense lead lines on there. And then it ends on like the bombshell of I'll change for you because even slurred words can contain some truth. I'll change for you when I'm ready to. Like, damn, devastating, dude.
My thing about Talking with Turnstiles is that it sounds like 3 different eras of Death Cab are like fighting for control over the song, and it changes tones very suddenly. It's an odd song. It's kind of cool. Like you mentioned, would not fit on Plans at all.
Yeah, definitely. Like good song. And I don't know. Do we want to talk about Directions at all separately? Because otherwise, I'm going to mention it here.
No, just talk about it now.
The quote unquote video for this one is insane. And it's 100% staged. Because it's literally phone cam video of a guy at the show or at a Death Cab show who loves this song and is like screaming for them to encore with it after Ben walks off stage after playing I Will Follow You Into the Dark. And it's like him worming his way through the crowd, getting up on stage, getting kicked off stage, going and hiding in the green room briefly, all while the song is playing elsewhere. And this is all like dynamically like changing as he moves through the building and like onto the stage. Like it's the most insane thing I've ever seen out of a band like this. And I kind of love it.
That is it sounds like a very crazy video.
Yeah, it's worth watching. The audio is fucking terrible because of what I just described, but yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I like Jealousy Rides with Me too. It feels very tied to like songs like Your Heart Is an Empty Room. Yeah, I don't know.
There is a song from this era called Walking the Ghost that allegedly exists. They were working on it
supposedly
in the studio. When the Rolling Stone went and did like a feature on them while they were recording this, and they talk about the song a little bit, that it was a very political song, had a cool guitar part, but Ben was sort of uncomfortable with putting too much politics into the songs at the time. Apparently they played the song live once, so 1,000 or so people have heard it, but I could not find any live recordings of it or any other evidence that it ever has existed in any form outside of just maybe a demo or something.
Yeah, I was also not able to dig anything up, which is really unfortunate because I want to hear Ben Gibbard trying to be Billy Bragg, even though he knows he's not.
Then there's a whole bunch of covers that came out on comps and iTunes bonus tracks and stuff. There's a cover of Start Again by Teenage Fan Club, Bad Reputation by Freddie Johnston, Earth Angel, which is very funny.
Yep.
Love Song by The Cure and Rockin' Chair by the band. Any of these you specifically want to talk about?
So that Earth Angel cover was very weird to me, but then I saw what it was on, and it's for a video game called Stubbs the Zombie, which I remember very little about, but all of the songs on that record or on that soundtrack are like modern day of the time bands doing covers of like oldies, basically. So it totally makes sense.
I mean, Earth Angel, it feels so memeified at this point. Maybe it wasn't 20 years ago, but like it is almost like when you're listening to that, you can't tell if they're like taking it seriously or not, even though it's like a fine enough performance of the song.
Yeah, I mean, Jason really kills it on that song for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, like, yeah, there's not a lot remarkable about it. That Love Song cover though is really, really good. They really nailed the Cure bass tone.
Oh yeah, I mean, unsurprisingly.
Yeah. Obviously, Nick's got that on lock.
The weird one for me is the cover of Rockin' Chair. Like,
yeah,
Americana Death Cab feels like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like an imposter. You know, it's like they're trying to put on clothes that just do not fit them.
Yeah, I can kind of see it. It's like it's uncanny in a way.
Yeah,
I think is the way that it comes across to me.
And maybe it's just the West Coast thing. I don't know what it is. I'm very pro singer of indie band or punk band makes country record, and I could not hear a Ben Gibbard country record. Something about it doesn't compute for me, and this song feels like the perfect example of that.
Fair.
Yeah. Anything else? I think that's everything I had for the bonus tracks for the Plans era.
No, I just think banger album. It's wild how many covers they did in this era, though.
Some of them are live, but yeah, I think they're also just like they're a big band now, and they're getting asked to have every single song on this album got included in a movie or TV show, is what I read. And people just are asking them to do stuff, and they seem like they're like I mentioned. Ben was like, "We'll do every interview. We're game to do anything to promote this album and to make the most of this opportunity."
Yeah, definitely.
All right, should we do some random recommendations?
Let's do it. I need to look up the name of mine, so if you have something ready to go, please feel free.
Okay. I am going to recommend a podcast. My sister-in-law, Becky Siegel, launched her podcast this week. It's called Old Gossip, and this is an extension of her apparently quite large following on TikTok, where she does these videos that she calls old gossip videos, where she tells stories like about historical figures, whether it's like World War II era or older or whatever, and she tells them in the style as if she's talking about like the Real Housewives or something. She's very funny. The podcast is kind of the same way. She doesn't have a co-host or anything. It's just her telling stories, and she frames it as if she's leaving you a voicemail. And it's really great. I'm like laughing out loud even though she's like telling stories about how weird the Nazis were, which is sort of the framework of her first season of her show. So highly recommend that. Old Gossip with Rebecca Siegel. She also writes middle grade nonfiction books, which are very good too. So if you are into that, or you have a preteen teenager in your life who wants to read about the space race or World War II, I highly recommend those as well.
Hell yeah. I remember you telling me that she was launching this podcast soon, and now I'm very excited to hear it. I didn't realize it had dropped, so that rules.
Yeah, it's very good.
Sick. All right, I've pulled up. I couldn't remember the name of the actual album. Because my recommendation for this week is the new album by Topiary Creatures, a band out of Nashville, called The Greenhouse Oubliette. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Good enough.
Yeah, sure. This turned up in the emo thread on the Chorus forums, and it drew my attention because the recommended if you likes included Agi, a band that this podcast famously likes. And I was like, there ain't no way. And there in fact is a way. This record is wild. I don't know how it compares to their older stuff because I had never listened to them before, but yeah, I described it to you and Lauren as either Aggie got really into the Callous Dowboys or the Callous Dowboys got really into Aggie. And like it's that and a lot more. There's a lot of like breakdowns on this record, but there's also a lot of like really wild arrangement stuff. There's a lot of accordion on this record.
Sick.
It feels like a huge journey in the way that I love when albums do that. Like it's not a collection of songs so much as it is like this whole thing. And I don't know if there's like a central storyline or anything like that, but it all feels of a piece. I kind of listen to this in the car, so like I can't like pass like formal judgment on it as like a total body of work, but like there's some mixed stuff on it that I question a little bit. But like it's nuts. It's definitely worth a listen. I have a feeling I will be listening to this a lot more over the course of the year. Which it is rare for a brand new band for me. So I'm excited to check out more of this band stuff and also re-listen to this record with a little bit more focus. But yeah, that is Greenhouse Oubliette by Topiary Creatures.
Yeah, this shot right to the top of my queue to check out when you sent it to me yesterday, so I'm excited.
I think you're going to love it.
Sweet. All right, we will be back next week talking about Narrow Stairs with our friend Blake Carell. And in the meantime, you can find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com, follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod, and send us email at noisefloorpodcast@gmail.com. We will see you next week.
See you next week.